All right, this is our geometry quarterfinal two review, part 1. Okay, because I know this is going to be multiple parts. Question number 1, and I'm not, bouncing around from question to question. I'm looking at the test on the other screen. I'm not, kind of rolling all over the place. This is the order of the test. So I guess you could say, I mean, I don't really like the idea of teaching to the test, but I don't like the idea of giving you a review that doesn't really match up well with the test. So this question has no visual to it. All it is just a written out word type problem. And so I highly suggest that you draw a picture, okay, to go with this. So they're going to say, suppose a line, let's say DE. So suppose line DE, okay, and let's say XY. Okay, so I got line DE and XY are in the same plane. Okay, so they're in the same plane, and they are both perpendicular to line AB. Okay, we want to know, they're going to ask, what is the relationship of these two lines to each other? Okay, what is the relationship of those two lines to each other? So your work for this question is the picture. Does that make sense? It's not like if you just select an answer here, I'm not going to give you credit. It's going to be a DSA. You have to draw a picture here. So I've got two lines, but they're perpendicular. Each of them is perpendicular to AB. So what I would start with is drawing line AB, okay, because both of them have a relationship to AB, and they have the same relationship to AB. So how would you draw line AB? Would you draw a horizontal line, a vertical line? What would you want to do? Does it really matter? No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you draw line AB. So let's just throw it out for kicks and giggles. I mean, I can have you come up here and draw it, or you can tell me what you want me to draw for line AB. Draw a horizontal line, okay? So I'm going to call this horizontal line. This is AB. Okay? Now, it says that line DE is perpendicular to AB, right? So now I have to draw line DE in a very specific way. Okay? So what kind of line is DE going to be? It's going to be perpendicular, but what's that going to look like as I draw it? It's going to be a vertical line, and it has to cross AB, right? All right, so I'm going to put it right here. Okay, so here is line DE, and we said it's perpendicular, so I'm going to put a little box like that. Okay? Now, what about XY? Same thing, different. Same thing, but maybe moved over a little bit. Okay? All right, so something like this. Okay, X, Y, I got everything labeled. All right, now the question is still this, though. What is the relationship between the red line here and the black line? What are they to each other? They're parallel to each other because they're both perpendicular to the same line. Okay, so the answer there is going to be they are perpendicular. But what is the work that earns me the credit? That picture. Okay, now, does it have to be drawn exactly like this? No, you could take the whole thing and rotate it. I don't know if I can actually, I don't know if it'll let me do that or not. No, not really. Not effectively anyway. Okay, but do we understand that we could have the whole thing rotated and it would still be the same answer? Okay, all right. All right, question number 2. Question number 2 is going to give you a coordinate plane. Okay, let's see, it's going to have, might have something like this. It's going to give you a line segment. And it's going to say, let's just call this X and Z. It's going to tell you what the endpoints are. So let's say, I don't know, let's say that this is -3, 4. Okay, let's say that Z is -1, -2. Okay, the question is going to be, what is the midpoint of Y? What are the coordinates for Y? Okay, so what formula do I need to use here? Midpoint formula. What is the midpoint formula? X1 plus X2 divided by 2. Divided by 2. So let's talk about these coordinates here. Let's go ahead and plug them in so that we can see how they work. -3 close plus -1 divided by 2. What's -3 plus -1? -4. What's -4 divided by 2? -2. Okay. All right, let's handle our y's. 4 plus -2. Okay, 4 plus -2 is what? What's 2 divided by 2? 1. All right, so y equals -2, 1. So it could be like right around there. Okay. All right, so we need to know the midpoint formula, right? They're going to give you the visual and they're going to give you the coordinates, but even if they didn't, you should be able to see well enough what those coordinates are going to be. Okay. All right, I think I can still hit number 3 pretty easily. I think this is a fairly easy question, but they're going to give you something similar to this. Okay, and they're going to say classify this triangle by its sides and by its angles. Okay, let's classify this triangle by its sides. Isosceles. Okay. Okay, because it has 2 sides. Okay. Well, let's see. What would we call? Do we know what we would call this? What are the classifications of a triangle by its angles? It can be 3 things. It could be right. It could be acute, or it could be obtuse. Is this a right triangle? No. Is it, okay, so we've eliminated right because it has no little perpendicular box to work with. Does it look like it's obtuse? Obtuse means what? Greater than 90. Does anything look greater than 90 there? No, so we would say acute. So you need to be familiar with equilateral, isosceles, and scalene, as well as acute, obtuse, and right, because this is not the question that's on the test. By the sides. So isosceles is 2 sides are congruent, equilateral is 3 sides are congruent, scalene are no sides congruent. Okay?